بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, 3rd of August. I think yesterday I also had the same board saying 3rd of August, but it was actually 2nd of August. Never mind. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of August, 2021. And in our series, Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 241. And we've been discussing Al-Baqarah chapter 2 verse 90, and this is the third broadcast in which we will discuss this verse of the Holy Quran. Before we go any further, let me remind you that the Lahore Ahmadiyya community, or the Ahmadiyya Anjuman Lahore, was created by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh. And he taught us that whereas generally Muslims believe that after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, the Prophet will come, this cannot be right, because the Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet Muhammad was Khatamun Nabiyyin. And the Holy Prophet explained that by saying, La Nabi Abadi. There is no prophet after me. That being the case, no prophet, whether old or new, can now appear in this world after the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And if the Ummah goes astray, then the Holy Prophet told us what will happen is that God will send Mujaddadeen, reformers. And one reformer was specifically mentioned with two titles, that is Isa ibn Maryam and Mahdi. But the Holy Prophet said it's one and the same person. And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib Rahmatullah Alayhi said that I am the Mujaddid to whom these titles apply because of the tasks I'm entrusted with. This is, of course, a difference of opinion between us and our other brother Muslims. But Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad stressed that we must not hurry to call each other heretics or out of fold of Islam or kafir. He referred to the hadith of the Holy Prophet, which said that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima that you are not a Muslim, then it is the person saying it who's closer to heresy. So we should tolerate each other's differences of opinion. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also taught us that people believe that some prophetic revelation has been left out of the Holy Quran, such as Ayah Rajab, Surah Walai, and so on. But he said that this is not correct. All the prophetic revelation that the Holy Prophet received is in the Holy Quran. Similarly, he pointed out that generally most Muslims believe that some verses of the Holy Quran have been abrogated. Hazrat Shah Waliullah, amongst others, refers to this, and he says Muslims believe that more than 500 verses of the Holy Quran are abrogated. And he says, I've done research and I've come to the conclusion that only 7 verses are abrogated. But Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib said, no verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated. And he told Muslims that jihad is a fundamental duty of every Muslim. And he said that the definition of jihad was given by the Holy Prophet when he was returning from fighting. And he said that from minor jihad, we are returning to major jihad. And then explained that the major jihad is fighting with your own negative self, your own desires, such as envy, jealousy, hatred, and 1,000 other such emotions and things. Although it is true, if attacked with the sword, then you respond with the sword. But at the same time, remember, if attacked with the pen, you do not respond with the sword. That is not the teaching of Islam. So, let us turn to the Holy Quran and see which verse of the Holy Quran we are going to look at. As I said, it's chapter 2, Al-Baqarah, verse 90. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بئس ما اشتروا به أنفسهم أن يكفروا بما أنزل الله بغيا أن ينزل الله من فضله على من يشاء من عباده فباءوا بغضب على غضب وللكافرين عذاب مهين. Evil is that for which they sell their souls, that they should deny that which Allah has revealed out of envy, that Allah should send down of His grace on whomsoever of His servants He pleases. So they incur wrath upon wrath. And there is an abasing chastisement for the disbelievers. Yesterday, we got to the word Anzala. That was the last word we discussed. The word Allah, we have discussed many times, so I won't look at it today. Baghyan, we look at that. Ain, that's just a connecting word. Yunazzila, again, we did that yesterday. وَبِمَا أَنزَلَ. Then Allah, I've just said, we've discussed many times, min fadlihi. So this is the second word that we will look at. Baghiyan is the first one, and fadlihi is the second one. Okay, let's look at the first word, and we see that its root is ba ghain ya, and it occurs in the Holy Quran 96 times with 8 different meanings or 8 different forms. 34 times it occurs as the verb ibtagha, and 25 times it occurs as the verb bagha, and 14 times as a noun ibtigha, and then 11 times as the noun baghi, and 6 times as the verb yambaghi, and 3 times as bagh, and once as bigha. Twice as baghi. So, and that means in the first form of the verb, it means to seek mostly, but it can also mean to oppress. For example, in chapter 3, verse 83, it says, أَفَغَيْرَ دِينِ اللَّهِ يَبْغُونَ. They seek. And then in chapter 3, verse 99, we have Sabilillahi man amana tabghunaha iwajan. They are seeking. And then chapter 10, or yes, 10:23. Falamma anjahum izahum yabghuna fil ardi bighayril haqq. Rebel. وَيَبْغُونَهَا, chapter 11, verse 19. And they're seeking or desire sometimes. But also chapter 22, verse 60. وَقِبَ بِهِ ثُمَّ بُغِيَ عَلَيْهِ. He was oppressed. Again, chapter 28, verse 76. كَانَ مِنْ قَوْمِ مُوسَى فَبَغَيَا عَلَيْهِمْ. But he oppressed them. Baghaya, he was wronged, chapter 38. And so it also means proper, appropriate, permitted, like in chapter 19, verse 92. Wama yambaghi lirrahmani. Or wama yambaghi lahum wama yastati'un. And that is from chapter 26, verse 211. Again, to seek وَهُنَّ وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ, chapter 2, verse 187. And لَقَدْ ابْتَغَوُا الْفِتْنَةَ, and they sought. And as a noun, verbal noun, it's used for prostitution. Al-bigha'i in radna tahathuna. Then it also means disobedient. From a nittura ghayra bagh, chapter 2, verse 173. So let us see what it means. And al-baghyu means that in desiring something, in seeking something, you go beyond moderation. You want to be rich. You can be rich by working very hard, and it may take a long time. If you pay all your taxes and so on. But then you decide, well, I can't be bothered with that. I want to become rich very quickly. So you start fiddling your tax, which is basically stealing government's money. So in your desire to become rich, you have given up moderation. Or it can be anything. You may need to work very, very hard, and you start to ignore your family, your wife, your children, and so on. So, and there are two ways in which you can exceed moderation. One is you can exceed it in good things, such as in doing good deeds, doing justice, helping people. But you can also exceed the limits in doing bad things, like usurping people's rights and so on. The Holy Quran says in chapter 42, verse 42, Innamas sabilu alallazina yazlimuna nasa wa yabghuna fil ardi bighayril haqq. Who is blameworthy? The people who are unjust to others, and they spread disruption without reason. They spread disruption through the land. وَيَبْغَوْنَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ, and they spread disruption throughout the land without there being any reason for that. Again, I think I recited a part of this earlier on, chapter 24, verse 33. وَلَا تُكْرِهُ فَتَيَاتِكُمْ عَلَى الْبِغَاءِ إِنْ أَرَدْنَا تَحَثُّنَا. Don't force your slave girls, female slaves, into prostitution. And in fact, it can apply to anything. If it rains too much, We say Bhagatis Samai. The clouds have exceeded their limits. Again, Yabghuna fil ardi bi ghayril haq, chapter 10, verse 23. And they spread disruption on the land. Innama baghyukum ala anfusikum, chapter 10, verse 23. And then the result, you will bear the result of whatever happens. ثم بغي عليه لينصرنه الله, chapter 22, verse 16. And those who's being subjected to injustice, and God is with them. He will support them. And where's that thing gone? Here we are. Yes, as I said, that, to go beyond the limits. And the Urdu word Baghawat, Baghi, meaning the person or the group who go beyond the law, who break the law. And the same word is used for them. And in Surah Nisa, the one we're discussing now, a few verses down, it says, وَلَا تَحِنُوا فِي ابْتِغَاءِ الْقَوْمِ. That don't be lazy or don't be slow in pursuing the enemy. Here, it's saying, don't use average effort. Use as much effort as is needed. More than moderation. And where the Holy Quran talks about forbidden foods later on in chapter 2, verse 103, I think. There is an exception. غَيْرَ بَاغٍ. And who are these people? These people are that these things are forbidden, but if your life is in danger and you are forced to eat what has been forbidden, then you will not be held accountable for that. So you can see that in Islam, human life has the highest value. So things that are normally forbidden, if you have to do them, if you have to eat them, if you have to drink them, you're allowed to save your life. The next word, the root is Fa, Dad, and Lam. And it occurs in the Holy Quran 104 times with in four different forms. 84 times as Fadl, and 17 times as Faddala, and twice as Tafdeel, and once as Yatafaddala. So, and it means to prefer, make someone. وَأَنِّي فَضَّلْتُكُمْ, preferred you. Chapter 2, verse 47. But it also means bestow, grant. Chapter 4, verse 34. عَلَى النِّسَاءِ بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ. He has given some. He has bestowed. وَهُوَ فَضَّلَكُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. Chapter 7, verse 140, has preferred you. وَنُفَضِّلُ بَعْضَهَا عَلَى بَعْضٍ فِي الْأُكُلِ. Chapter 13, verse 4. We cause to exceed. God caused to exceed. So it also means superiority. Yuridu an yatafaddala alaykum. Chapter 23, verse 24. Asserted his superiority. But it also means God's bounty, God's grace, his blessings. فَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. Chapter 2, verse 64. His grace. And then, of course, this verse. أَن يُنَزِّلَ اللَّهُ مِن فَضْلِهِ عَلَى مَن يَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ. His grace, God's grace. And then you have, it means excellence as well. Like in chapter 17, verse 21, darajatin wa akbaru tafdila walal akhiratu akbaru darajatin wa akbaru tafdila. Superior in excellence. So, and this means that something in excess of the average or moderate amount, you might say. So this could be good, it could be bad. For example, if someone has more knowledge than average, that is good. If someone is kinder than average, that is good. But it's bad if, for example, someone is exceedingly a miser or anger is over what you would expect. And the interesting thing is that al-fadlu is used when it's something good, like knowledge, skill, goodness, kindness. And al-fudulu, when a person exceeds in things which are not nice. And in Urdu, it's a common word. It's called fazul. A bada fazul aadmi. He's a very bad person. So this could be, it also means superiority. So it could be superiority like plants and animals are both living things, but animals are superior to plants. Plants are stuck in one place, animals can move. can mean superiority amongst animals. Human beings are superior to other animals, although we are also a part of the animal kingdom. The Holy Quran says in chapter 17, verse 70, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا. Chapter 17, verse 70. And we honored children of Adam, and we made them superior to other creation. And there is one type of superiority that God grants in the sense of He grants this in the things of this world. Wallahu fadala ba'dukum ala ba'din fil rizq. Chapter 16, verse 71. And God gives someone more than others. Or elsewhere it says, لِتَبْتَغُوا فَضْلًا مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Chapter 17, verse 12. So that you may seek out God's blessings. And that is, get a job, earn money. بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Chapter 4, verse 34. And God has made some superior to others. Again, even with prophets, وَلَقَدْ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَ النَّبِيِّينَ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Chapter 17, verse 55. And we have given superiority to some prophets over others. And again, فَضْلَ اللَّهُ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ عَلَى الْقَاعِدِينَ. Chapter 4, verse 94. That those who conduct jihad are superior to those who remain behind. وَاسْأَلُوا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. Chapter 4, verse 32. Keep praying for God's blessings, His fadl. That's His bounty, His grace. So, it is the opposite of weakness, fault, smallness, having less of, below average, etc. So, God says, for example, in chapter 3, I think verse 47, and I gave you superiority over other nations which inhabited the earth at that time. And the wahi and the guidance that the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam received, that is also a blessing, a fadl of Allah. But then, as I said, seeking to earn a living is also called God's blessing. Victory in battle is called God's blessing, and so on. And one thing that we spoke about just now, which was that God has made some people superior over others. I mean, for example, some people are physically stronger, some people are more intelligent, some people are, good at math, some are good at English. But the point about this is that what God is saying, that what did you do to deserve your greater strength or your intelligence or whatever else? Nothing. I gave it to you anyway without you deserving it. So, if using my bounty, the intelligence I gave you without you putting any effort into it, strength, intelligence, whatever it might be, so that you can earn more, why don't you share it with others? Why don't you share it with others? If your answer is that they didn't earn it, but you didn't earn your intelligence or your strength, it was naturally granted to you by God. What did you do? If someone is highly intelligent, what did he do to be so intelligent? Nothing. It was granted by Allah, and that was that. Because God grants good things, as God says. So why don't you emulate God? Why don't you emulate Him? So with that thought, I take my leave of you, with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep all of you safe and sound and free from harm. Until we meet again tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum. Khuda Hafiz. Goodbye.